Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Okay guys, we're going to be seeing the video today. This is titled Why Finland Fought Alongside Nazi Germany. All right guys, I think this is one of the videos, one of the topic that people don't really talk about much. All right, but let's get right into this. But before then, please subscribe, and if you find this video interesting, like, share and comment. All right, so let's jump in.
Some people like to claim that Finland worked with the Nazi regime because during the continuation war, it fought alongside Germany against the Soviet Union. I mean, when people say it like that, it sounds bad because, ooh, you worked with the Nazis, and they love to bring it up as a kind of ideological indictment on the Finnish people. There is so much more to this story, and even the way that statement is portrayed misses the heart of the story. It was a battlefield arrangement, not a brotherhood. Finland wasn't aligning itself with Nazi ideology. It was navigating an impossible reality. It had already endured generations of pressure from the Russian Empire, and then a brutal civil war fueled by Bolshevik influence. When war broke out against the Soviet Union, the West offered sympathy, and that was about it. Finland was left cornered by a power that had tried twice to wipe out its independence and identity. What looked like complicity was in reality a desperate bid to survive. In 1942, Heinrich Himmler, one of the architects of the Holocaust, visited Finland. At the time, Germany and Finland were coordinating military efforts. Himmler asked why Finland hadn't dealt with its Jewish question. The story goes that the Prime Minister of the time replied, "We do not have a Jewish question here." Finland had not enacted anti-Jewish laws. In fact, the roughly 2,000 Finnish Jews continue serving in the army and living as ordinary Finnish citizens. Even more remarkably, some attended synagogue on the front lines while their country fought alongside Nazi Germany. Imagine a Finnish Jewish soldier lighting candles on Yom Kippur just a few miles from German trenches. That kind of thing really happened. So why would Finland partner with such a force in the first place? The simple answer, it didn't have many options. You know the phrase, the enemy of...
Exactly. There were not much options for Finland. When you are faced with such a crucial and delicate situation, it doesn't really matter who came to help. All right. So if anyone is trying to tarnish Finland's image because they fought alongside with the Nazi Germany, then it's not cool. It's not cool. They needed help at that time. So if the enemy of your enemy is willing to help you fight your enemy, then it's fine to accept that help. It's cool because you guys have a common because you guys have a common enemy. All right. So I really do not see anything wrong in Finland fighting alongside Germany. All right. So
you know the phrase, the enemy of my enemy is my friend? That was Finland's situation, except in the end, they fought against the Germans too. To understand how we got there, we need to go back further. Not to the 1930s, but to 1809. In 1809, the Russian Empire went to war with the Swedish Empire in what's known as the Finnish War. It was part of the wider Napoleonic conflict. Russia defeated Sweden and annexed Finland, which had been part of the Swedish Empire for nearly 600 years. Finland was made a Grand Duchy under the Russian crown, and for a time, Russia let Finland handle its own affairs. The arrangement worked until it didn't. The Finnish were happy to let it continue as long as they were left alone. Over time, Russian rulers became more authoritarian. They tried to erase Finnish identity. This process is called Russification, when Russia suppresses local cultures and imposes its language, politics, and control. It started slow, then it snowballed. Russians censored newspapers, pushed Russian administrators into Finnish schools, and forced young Finns into the Tsarist army. They were trying to turn the Finnish Russian by force. But the more they pushed, the more Finland resisted. Like blowing on dry kindling, their pressure only made the fire burn brighter. Finnish nationalism roared to life. 600 years under Sweden hadn't erased the Finns. A few decades under Russia wouldn't either. Then came the collapse in 1917. The Russian Empire fell apart. The Bolsheviks overthrew the Tsars. Their ideology was rooted in Marxism. Churchill himself called it a disease. In Finland, it looked like chaos. The old empire gone, a radical new regime in its place. So Finland seized the moment and declared independence. But independence came with a price. Just months later, Finland fell into a civil war. The Reds were mostly working class and aligned with socialist ideals. They had the blessing of the Bolsheviks and received limited support from them. The Whites were conservative nationalists who wanted independence from Russia and saw the Reds as Moscow's agents. Germany supported the Whites, providing weapons and even some troops. This wasn't just about Finland. Much of the Western world, including Britain and France, saw the Bolshevik Revolution as a serious threat. Germany, despite its own collapsing empire, wanted to halt the spread of Bolshevism in Northern Europe. The war was brutal. 36,000 people died. Many were executed. Others starved in prison camps. Families were torn apart. Towns divided, and those wounds lingered. But Finland didn't collapse. Over time, it healed slowly. Parties that were previously aligned with the Reds, like the Social Democrats, were allowed back into politics. Elections were held. By the 1930s, Finland had a functioning parliamentary democracy, rare for Europe at that time. Multiple parties, civil liberties, an active press. While fascism rose elsewhere, Finland held firm. But one thing hadn't changed: the fear of the East. The Soviet Union had grown out of the Bolshevik Revolution. Finland remembered that ideology all too well. They hadn't forgotten Moscow's role in the Civil War. They knew Stalin was watching. In 1939, Stalin demanded Finnish territory as a buffer zone to protect Leningrad from potential German attack. But that was a pretext. He wanted more. He wanted all of Finland. Finland said no, loudly, universally, from right to left, and with deep generational weight behind it. This wasn't just a political decision. It was the culmination of decades of resistance. First against the Russian Empire, which had tried to erase Finnish language, culture, and identity. Then against the Bolsheviks, who had fueled a civil war that tore the nation apart. This no came from a country that had been pushed to the edge and refused to disappear. It was historical, cultural, emotional, and profoundly personal. So the Soviets invaded. Finland resisted, and the world watched and did nothing. The Allies praised Finnish courage, called them brave, but no one sent help. Germany had a pact with the Soviets at the time, so they stayed out of it too. Finland fought alone, with limited weapons, running low on supplies. Still, they inflicted massive casualties on the Red Army. I'm sure you've heard of the Winter War, and I've spoken about it before. But in the end, they were exhausted, so they made peace. Finland gave up 11% of its territory, including its second largest city and much of its industry. Hundreds of thousands were displaced. The cost was enormous, but they had survived. When Germany betrayed the Soviet Union in 1941, Finland saw an opening. It wasn't about ideology, it was about survival. Finland felt isolated, betrayed, humiliated. The West had shown sympathy but no spine. Stalin had taken their land and nearly crushed them. So when Germany invaded the USSR, Finland joined in. But let's be clear, Finland wasn't a Nazi ally. It was a co-belligerent. It fought its own war for its own reasons. It didn't pass any anti-Jewish laws. It stayed democratic. It refused to participate in the Holocaust, and eventually it turned on Germany too. By 1944, the tide had turned. The Soviets were advancing, so Finland signed a peace treaty with Moscow. And as part of the deal, it had to expel German troops from the north. That led to the Lapland War. The Germans burned much of the north as they retreated, including the city of Rovaniemi. But by 1945, they were gone, and Finland, battered and scarred, was thankfully still standing. Fighting alongside Germany raised moral questions that Finland had to wrestle with for decades. But here's the truth: Finland didn't choose Nazism. It chose independence, it chose survival. For a time, it picked the wolf to fight the bear, but in the end, it walked away from them both. Thank you for watching.
Okay, this is a wonderful video, all right? This is 10 minutes video, and I think it actually did justice, at least to a great level, all right, to explain this, should I call it confusion? Because a lot of people out there do not really know the real and actual reason why Finland fought alongside the Nazi Germany. With this 10-minute video, it's going to help a lot of people understand better what really actually happened, all right? Thank you guys for watching. Please share your thoughts and your opinion. If you're in support of this video, let us know. And if you think this is not it, let us know in the comment section as well, all right? Thank you for watching, and see you guys on my next one. Bye.